Folks, the markets are going bananas. 10-year notes down. The stock market might be repricing golds over 2,000. Commercial real estate's in the dumps. And of course, we've got to talk to the one and only Anna, REI mom, Kelly, to really help us understand what's going on, hopefully depressurize the situation because both her and I have been through this before. So, Anna, it's pretty chaotic out there. I see a lot of people kind of vibrating at a different level. And I think both you and I are far more calm, but maybe I'm wrong.
Right. No, I agree with you. And this is very typical of what happens when there's periods of economic volatility. And what's so scary is that a lot of people haven't ever experienced a major downturn. We've had the longest expansion period since Abraham Lincoln was in office
Oh,
before we
wow.
had the pandemic.
I
Yeah,
wasn't
I don't
around for that
remember
one. I'm
that.
old.
Yeah,
Yeah, me neither.
we're old, but not that old, right? And so typically, I've done a little bit of studying on this. People's memories only really can feel back about 10 years. And so if something's happened longer than 10 years ago, you don't really worry about it repeating very much. You kind of forget about it and you assume that the next couple years should just look like the last past few years or maybe even decade. We're seeing so many changes versus the last decade that over and over people are being hit with thing after thing after thing that we didn't expect, that are uncertain, that have uncertain consequences. And really, it creates major fear because uncertainty, when we don't know how to mitigate what's coming, creates panic. And people I see, Michael, are freezing. And while there's wisdom to being patient, knowing your buy box, like we talk about all the time, and only doing great deals, at the same time, you can't be paralyzed to say, I'm so scared of what's happening, so I'm going to throw up my hands and do nothing. Because doing nothing can actually result in a much worse outcome than if you name the risk,
Yeah.
come up with the reality of what could happen and then figure out how to mitigate all those things. You come at it, you come back emotionally at a much more stable place when you can say, this could happen. If it does, what do I do? And that's what I had to do during the last major correction in the Great Recession in 2009 was say, I can't wallow in this fear anymore. I have to say, where's their opportunity? Where's the risk? First, protect, then figure out how do you move forward and thrive.
Yeah. One of the things I just want to highlight here, we will do a separate video on this, is you've graciously agreed to be part of the Four Ladies Legends of Real Estate Investing on April 16th. Folks, if you don't take the opportunity to ask Anna about her experience in the last recession and how she changed her mindset and moved forward, you are missing out. So I'll just leave that little plug here for that. But, I know you were just in Disneyland, right, with the family. We missed last week.
Yes.
I want to point out something that I highlighted and see if you agree or not. So Silicon Valley Bank goes out 2 or 3 weeks ago, whenever that happened. That Saturday, I put out a message saying the recession's happening earlier. Originally, I thought it was Q1, Q2 of 24. We were just on a glide path to have one. I saw within a 24-hour period consumer behavior change. I had
Absolutely.
multiple messages from people saying, should I take my last 8 grand out of a savings account? That's all they
Right.
had. And they weren't putting it somewhere. They were taking it home with them.
Right. Putting it under
So
your mattress.
yeah, literally coffee cans in the backyard, like the
Hmm.
depression, right? And that spreads. And I said the
Absolutely.
consumer, this was late March, right? So I said, in January, the Economic Bureau of Labor Statistics is going to say the recession started Q2, April, which at the time was a week ahead of where we were.
Hmm.
Um, and now we've gotten manufacturing data, the JOLTS report. I think the recession has started,
I do
and
too.
yeah, that's just where we are right now. What do you think? Yeah.
Absolutely. And this reaction, again, it's very normal. It's we've been hit by thing after thing after thing. And as I was thinking through this morning, I wrote a post on Facebook just encouraging people to keep going and that this fear is normal. And if we're listening to all the negative doom and gloom, the difference right now and why I think there's such a quick reaction in consumer behavior to that immediate fear is we have just lived through multiple things back to back to back. If it's you and I, we went through the dot-com bubble, the failure of MCI WorldCom and
Yeah.
Enron, and then it was the Great Recession. And we finally got through that. And thankfully we thrived, despite all that. And then things were going really well. And then we're hit with a pandemic and people losing jobs and businesses shuttered. And then we have mass inflation. And then we have risk of a bank failure. And we see layoffs. And people just can't handle back to back to back. What's the next thing, right? Escalation with China and Russia and OPEC cutting prices and threats of the US dollar losing its reserve currency status. Each one of those things in and of themselves is enough to make some people go, oh, this is scary. What if this happens? What do I do? But when you've had it happen back to back to back to back to back in a 2-year period, Michael, the consumer can only take so much uncertainty and they just feel paralyzed with, is the world collapsing? Do we stop investing? Do we take that money and put it under mattress? People just don't know what to do because there's so much at one time. And in a world of Facebook and Twitter, when someone starts posting fear, it spreads quickly and then it's kind of bank runs, which is what we're really faced with. Bank run is one of the worst things that you can have happen to a country. We don't want that to happen. You've got to think about, okay, what if there is a bank run? What can I do to protect myself? And so, I just want to encourage everybody, what you're feeling is completely normal. And even where you and I are, Michael, I think you would agree with me. Of course, we have some fears about what if those things come to fruition? How will that change what we do? How do we protect ourselves and how do we thrive? But because we've been through so many things and we've been able to thrive, it lessens the fear a little bit because we can look back and say, hey, we were resilient then. We figured it out. We can figure out again. And if we can push the fear aside, figure out how to take action to protect us if those things happen, you suddenly have this peace that I can handle what comes, and you just make the next best decision day in, day out to do great deals, to protect your money in different ways, to diversify your risk, which is really important. And everything's really going to be okay, but you have to check your emotions and pull on your pants that give you grit and determination and courage to continue to take action in the face of fear.
Yeah, what I would tell someone going through a real contraction for the first time is, and I mean this with every fiber of my body, if this is your first one, I hope you live through 5 of these. Recessions are naturally part of the business cycle, and that means you've lived a long
Yes,
time, right? Uh,
true.
what I would tell you about this one being as an adult anyway, my third potentially nasty, contraction is I got prepared a year ago, right? When you've been
Yes.
through these enough time, you can kind of sense when everybody's too giddy. And the good news is I have
Mhm.
receipts, and I was telling people it's crazy.
Yeah.
And you saw me refine my portfolio. You saw me put on 30-year debt. You saw me take some cash out to get ready.
Michael, we've been warning people about this for probably 2.5 years. And
Exactly.
I wish that it hadn't come to fruition, but it's played out. Not that we had a crystal ball and could figure out exactly how crazy it would be, but the things that happen at a bottom of a cycle tend to repeat themselves. And
Yeah.
so you protect yourself in the same way because there's going to be some nuance and some magnitude of the same things happening: inflation, rising rates, credit tightening, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. There's a Warren Buffett quote that I've actually tweaked because it's my mindset. So I'm sure you've heard it. I'll share it with the audience. When the tide goes out, you see who's swimming naked, right? Very
Yes.
common, Warren. And you and I have seen a lot. Enron, Silicon Valley Bank recently, all of
Right.
these other things, right? We've seen a lot. What I want to tell people is stop being a pervert, stop looking at naked people, and look at the ground and see what they dropped. Go look for gold bars and diamond rings
Right.
and Rolex watches or whatever it is. Go buy assets on sale. That's what I'm going to be
Yes.
doing. I'm going to be, out with they're going to be laying on the ground at a discount and with terms. Stop looking at the naked people. Go find the deals. That's what we should be doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that analogy. It made me laugh, but it's very true, right? If we are too voyeuristic, to
Yeah.
play off the analogy, and all we're watching is the doom and gloom and the
Oh,
failures,
yeah.
that's what we're filling our mind with. And really, you're missing, kind of like you've said, you're missing the forest for the tree. You're
Right.
stuck in just staring at, oh my goodness, this is happening. Is it going to happen to me? Instead of saying, like you said, where's the gold? And at
Yeah.
every major financial crisis, there's tremendous opportunity, and more wealth is built at the bottom, always consistently, than
Always.
built at the top. And that's why Warren Buffett, my other favorite quote of his, well, there's two of them. One, rule number one is never lose money, right? So we're not telling you to take a ton of risk. We're just saying be very careful with
Mhm.
your investments. Make sure that they meet your fundamentals of investing. And number two is be greedy when other people are fearful, and fearful when other people are greedy. That FOMO was when everybody was greedy in the last year or two, and that's coming home to roost. And now there's real fear. And so that's your time to say, how can I help these people out? And Michael and I both always say on this show, don't take advantage of people, but you take advantage of the opportunity, and you
Yes.
create win-win deals that help people out that really don't know what to do and have no other options. At the same time, you can make really good returns for yourself. And so this is the time to say there's a lot of gold, but there's also a lot of people that we can help at this period of
Yeah.
time. So you've got to get that mindset, and it will balance your emotions of fear that are going to naturally come with every new piece of data that seems a little bit scary.
Yeah, again, there's no shortage of fear, doom porn, if you will, out there. What I would tell you, if you get in that loop, you need to stop watching channels, block them, whatever it takes. Yeah, the headlines are scary. We will talk about them. We've been talking about them for a couple of years. We've told people to get prepared. But again, like you said, this is where real wealth is built. As the cycle comes down, there will literally be gold bar. Like I remember 2010 going, I don't want that gold bar. It's not big enough. I'll take the other
Right,
one.
right.
So,
Absolutely. And just a couple of things too. I know oftentimes people are afraid, or you're paralyzed and you don't know what to do. So you mentioned the guy wanting to take out his $8,000 and put it
yeah,
under the mattress. We don't want to do that, right? So if you're worried about a banking system collapse, banks have $250,000 of FDIC insurance. So if you're in a checking account, it's a 24-hour demand deposit account. So even if a bank fails, the FDIC is supposed to get you your money supposedly within 24 hours, pretty close.
yeah,
Unless you have well over 250, you don't need to be too worried. If you're in an FDIC insured bank, or you're in a bank, that a credit union that has similar insurance, or a brokerage account that has SIPC insurance, just be mindful of what you have. And the other thing is, we do have inflation. So while you're doing the work and looking for great deals, there's ways that you can earn money on what you have in your accounts. Something that I just did this week, and I've been thinking about it and finally did it, is I moved some of my money from one account to another bank with a high yield savings account of 5.02% today. Incredible earnings on a savings account. Now
yep,
it's variable, it's going to change, constantly, but it's not locking it up as much as like in a CD, but it gives you that FDIC insurance, it gives you some interest on your money. So don't feel like, even if you can't find a great deal, you can still make 4 to 5% on your
yeah.
money in a high
4%
yield
ain't
savings
bad.
account. Put
Exactly.
it there, limit it to 250 per titled account, and then continue to do the work and look for great deals. And diversify your portfolio. I'll just end it with that. Even though this is a real estate show,
Yeah,
you and I are very well diversified within real estate, but there's
absolutely.
also other things that you can park your money in that have, foundational, fundamental value, like gold and like silver.
Mhm.
We prefer cash flowing real estate because it has lots of other benefits. But there's something that you can do. And so my point is, don't be paralyzed and don't do anything. Say, what can I do to move the needle a little bit? And if you want to stay liquid, which I encourage you to do, because we are
Mhm.
going to have this gold that drops and hopefully a fire sale on certain assets,
Yep.
keep it liquid, but earn a return on it while you do. And then continue to do the work, continue to keep your buy box and to understand what that is, and just keep looking. And you'll notice very quickly when pricing changes and it becomes, a great, great deal for you.
Folks, this is why she's one of the legends of real estate, why you need to interact with her on the Sunday, the 16th. I'll put a link below. Anna, thank you so much. Where can people follow you?
Great. You can find me here every week on my channel, or my playlist on your channel. You can find me on social media at Anna Kelly, REI Mom, and my website, reimom.com.
Thank you so much.